Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nimble Urban Survivor. I'm your host, Nick Cadelli. Hope you're having a good month, good day, good year, good something, man. Today's date is March 8th. I don't know if you watched it. They had the big interview last night with Oprah and what's that, the Meghan Merkel, or I don't even know her name. And she just bashed like the whole like British dynasty. That was pretty insane. I haven't seen it. I do want to watch some clips of it, but I guess it's interesting to see that even after Americans took this country from the British, we are still just giving it to them, aren't we, man? I mean, we took a country from a king, and now we're just going to destroy a queen's dynasty. I don't know much about her. The only time I've ever seen Merkel on anything was, I think she was on Let's Make a Deal, holding a briefcase, and she opened a briefcase, and then she'd walk off stage, and that's her, famous actress story. And then she got smart because she's like, well, I'm not that good of an actress, so I'm just going to marry into the royal family and become an instant celebrity. So, guys, tip of the day has nothing to do with the show. If you want to become an instant celebrity, just go find somebody that's part of the royal family and seduce them and marry them, and bada boom, bada bing, bada bing, you're in the royal family. But some people found it offensive. I would assume the British found it very, very offensive that she was like bashing on their queen. Because who bashes the queen? She's like a nice old lady. I feel like the queen is one of those, like, she's super high powered, but I feel like if I ever bumped into her at a 7-Eleven, I'm pretty sure she'd be like, son, do you need like a hard candy for your throat? I don't even know if does she have an accent? I would assume she does because, I think they have to have accents. But I guess everybody got offended by that. That kind of makes sense to me. And that's going to be today's show because everybody's getting offended by everything right now. And that's what we're going to talk about is how to survive not being offended by everything. Okay? Because people are getting offended. I don't know if you read the news, though. We'll talk about a couple of things here. But number one, people are offended by Dr. Seuss because I guess Dr. Seuss is considered racist or makes weird characters. Or maybe they didn't like green eggs and ham because nobody likes the idea of eating moldy ham. Right? I don't even know how you get green ham. To be honest, I don't think you can put food coloring on it, which makes no sense. I don't know how you can get offended by like fictional wazawoos and snoopity-doos, and I don't get it. I don't know if people are maybe offended because Dr. Seuss is like a doctor of like acid trips. Because when you read his books, I'm even like, what the fuck was going on in his head? Like, what was he taking? And then people were offended by Mr. Potato Head because Mr. Potato Head, there's only a man Mr. Potato Head and there's a female Mr. Potato Head. And I thought that was weird because Mr. Potato Head is not like a real race of people. It's just it's a toy. And you just get a whole bunch of different eyes and lips and things to like put into Mr. Potato. So isn't Mr. Potato Head technically without all the stuff? Isn't he gender neutral anyway? So I thought that was dumb because then the toy company was like, oh my God, we're going to do something. And then they took it back because they're like, this is so stupid. Mr. Potato Head has been around for years. He has a legacy in the potato world. I don't know how you can get offended by that unless, you're one of those people who, is vegan and you don't like the idea of, Mr. Potato Head's being slaughtered so you can have your curly fries. Like, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. The other thing that people are finding offensive, too, is Miss Pac-Man, Mr. Pac-Man. And it's not because there's only two sexes of Pac-Man. It's because Pac-Man is yellow. And I guess an Asian man took that as a racial slur because Pac-Man is a yellow character who looks like he's eating dumplings, the little balls, the little power-up balls. So an Asian man said that, I don't get that. I think they're just little energy power-up balls so he can eat ghosts. I don't think it's a racist Asian thing. And then one woman, this is a good one, she tried to sue Microsoft and Apple because she accused them of being ageist. Age racist, and she was offended by that because she thought that only young people knew how to use computers, when in reality it's like, no, I think it's just maybe you're just, take a computer class. Maybe you're just too dumb. Maybe your dumbness is why you think you're being offended. But she did. She tried to sue the computer companies because she says, well, they don't make technology for people age 50 and up. And I was like, oh, shit, you're in your 50s and you don't know how to use a computer? Like, if you were like 112, I'd be like, well, that kind of makes sense to me. But if you're like in your 50s and you don't know how to use a computer, just ask literally anyone. Go to a Starbucks. Like, so, I guarantee somebody will tell you how to use it. But, it's kind of crazy because everybody's like offended by everything now. And how do you survive that? How do you survive not being offended by everything? Because we can't go down this path of being offended by everything. Because right now the news will pick it up. Like when I saw that Mr. Potato Head was in the news, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, he's a lovable character. And then they tried to go after like the Pixar Mr. Potato Head. And I was like, you leave him alone. You leave him alone. But that's the thing is like, if we go down this route, we're just going to have to be getting rid of shit like left and right. Because where does it end? I mean, Mr. Potato Head's gone. Pac-Man is gone. Donkey Kong, is he offensive? Maybe. Super Mario, the Italians get mad. He's gone. We're just going to like strip ourselves of all like the individualities and culture and creativity. Because that's what makes the human race awesome is we're all our own individuals and we have our own creativity and we're creating things. Because if we were all the same people, like if we all had the same mindset, same thinking, same point of view, shit, we'd still be learning how to, invent clothing. We would not be as advanced as we are today because with our different creative minds and individuality, when they come together, we create amazing things. So if we get offended by everything, and people are scared, I know people are like scared to be like, well, I like Mr. Potato Head. I'm going to say it, like, I love Mr. Potato Head. I read Dr. Seuss. I play Pac-Man. I'm using the computer right now. Love those fucking things. I'm not scared to admit that. But then again, I know other people are scared to admit that because they don't want to be, pointed at, be like, well, you're a, computer racist or whatever. They're scared. But what happens when you don't speak up? And just be like, that's Fugazi, Miss Pac-Man, don't play Pac-Man then. What happens is then we start getting rid of all that stuff. And we're looking at an apocalyptic event if that happens. If we start having to get rid of all this stuff, then we're not going to have any like video games or books or creativity or anything. It's going to be like one of those movies like the movie 1984, or what was that, Fahrenheit? What's that, 49? I don't know. The futuristic movie where they burn books because books have too much like creativity and individualisms or something, or the book Brave New World where everything has to be like really mundane. That's where we're headed, and that's gonna suck. Okay, because like I love wearing like Air Jordans and shit, and then if we go to this like weird mundane apocalyptic, now nothing can offend us because everything is the same future, like we're all gonna have to wear like shitty jumpsuits and have bowl cut hair and just eat like bowls of gruel, and I don't want that. That's awful. But in reality, if you really think about it, that could happen if we go down this path of being offended by everything. So how do you not get offended by everything? And I think we have a really good solution. We have a couple of different options, right? So option one is obviously if you don't want to get offended by everything, you could go and live in a log cabin out in the middle of nowhere. I think the best place to live if you don't want to get offended is Alaska or Antarctica. I cannot pronounce Antarctica because think of it like this. You go there and it's all just like white snow. It's like a clean white palette, right? And you just live by yourself. Everything is just a color white. Like when you go into like a new apartment and, they just painted all of the walls white to make it look super plain. And you just live in a cabin by yourself, surrounded by plainness. And none of that should be able to offend you. You would think. So that's option one, cabin, but you have to live in Antarctica. Don't go living in the woods somewhere because I know you're going to get offended by trees because trees make paper and you're probably not that good at writing on paper and you hate trees because you feel bad because you can't write on paper that well, so you don't like being around the trees because trees offend you because you're shitty at writing cursive. So don't live in a cabin in the woods. Antarctica, white snow, super plain. Think of it like this, like the most non-offensive room is a room that you walk into and the walls are all just painted like a white or, one color. You can't get offended by that, right? So that's option one. Okay. Option two, which I think is a really tough option, is you just got to get off social media. Okay. You have to get off social media. You got to stop watching the news. You can't watch any of that stuff anymore, obviously, because, CNN picked up the Mr. Potato Head story. I mean, that's the only way I heard about that. And I was like, this is insane. Like, CNN is like picking up the stupidest shit to talk about on the news. So you have to avoid all of that. But if you're like me, obviously, like I'll admit, like I love social media and the news, and I'm addicted to seeing what everybody's doing all of the time. You're still going to want to get something, right? So what you're going to have to do in this scenario, because obviously you can't go cold turkey. It's kind of like somebody on meth. Like it's hard just to like stop using drugs because you're going to go through like the chills and you're going to be throwing up and your hair might fall out, whatever. So you need to go out and you need to hire a professional writer. Okay, and you need to hire someone that has a background in like creativity writing, news writing, maybe TV writing, not feature film writing. And what they're going to need to do is you're going to have them just write up fake news for you every day. That's going to be their job. Is they literally? I know like fake news is like bad and stuff like that, but you're literally going to have to hire them to just write fake, uplifting news. Or they're going to have to like spin the news for you. In reality, when I'm talking about this, I think you should probably hire like an old news journalist from like North Korea or China. Because, they always like filter the news to their people. And they're probably like one of the best spinners. So forget what I just said when it comes to going and hiring like an American news writer. I would just go for like one of, what is it? Kim Jong-un's like former writers that like defected to the United States of America and is looking for work. And then their sole job will just be writing and sharing the news for you and creating like fake news social media posts and things like that. And they're probably really, really good at it. Because, I've seen some of the news that comes out of North Korea, and they actually said that Americans can shoot lasers out of their eyes to kill people. And they believe that shit. So, if they can make stuff like that believable, that we're all Superman, then I'm pretty sure they could write up some good stuff for you. And you're gonna have them, do like one Twitter or an Instagram, and then, they can like give you some like CNN fake news stuff like that. And you can kind of tailor it to however you want. That's the thing is I can't tell you what it's gonna be, but that's a good thing is you can just be like, well, today I want news stories about, kittens dancing with dogs in the rain. And they'll be like, yeah, great. I'll write that right up for you. But yeah, that's option 2 is to go out and hire like a communist dictatorship ex-reporter who would just like filter and make like, propaganda news. Because they are the best in the biz. Okay. Now, I think personally, that's like the best option. Option 3 is going to be you're going to want to just hire someone who constantly censors everything for you, right? Because that used to be kind of the big thing back in the day. Remember we used to have like a lot of censorship? Remember that? Like the 80s and the 90s, they censored a lot of stuff now. And you had like the ratings. There's like G and PG and like PG-13 and R and, I don't know. What's the porn one? What is it? Like XXX or NX? I don't know what. I guess I'll have to get on like Pornhub after this and figure that out. But I just remember we used to have like all of those ratings, and now we don't. I don't think anybody like respects them. Remember we had like it's PG-13, but now I feel like they've just thrown that all out the window because I don't even pay. I don't think does anything even get censored anymore. You remember that we used to like bleep out cursing and things like that, but now I think the only word they ever bleep out is like the F word. But I guess, option 3 is you would go out there, you would hire a professional censor to be with you at all times. And they would just need to have some like black permanent markers on them or some black pieces of paper. I don't think this is a job you can go out and like hire like a professional censor. I don't think you can like get that degree. Maybe like a community college has that degree. But this is someone you could just train them and be like, hey, I'll pay you, minimum wage. And you just take this marker and mark out anything that's offensive in the newspaper before I read it. Or if I'm going to watch TV, make sure to watch the news before I do and then record it. And then when you play it back, just fast forward all of the parts that I would find offensive. Or like if we're going outside, you're going to have to, well, if you go outside, the way you're going to have to do it is you're going to have to go get like a pair of glasses and like black out the lenses so you can't see anything. And then your censor will just have to like guide you around. As I talk about this, I find this is very offensive to blind people. But this is what you're going to have to do if you don't want to be offended. And you'll have your like guide you around. And when he knows that like everything is clear, he'll take the glasses off. So, like, for example, if you want to go to a coffee shop, it's a new coffee shop, and you want to make sure that nothing's offensive in there, obviously Your sensor would drive you there. He would make you wait outside with the blinded glasses on, so you can't be offended by anything that's outside of the coffee shop. Two, and then he would go in and survey the area, and if there were things that were offended him, he would just have them taken down. And if the people at the restaurant or the cafe refused to take them down, he would just call them racist and then say it was going to be on the news, and pretty much that would scare the shit out of them, and they would do it. And then after he does that, he would guide you into the coffee shop, and then you could take the goggles off because then there's nothing in the room to offend you. That one's going to be a little bit of an investment because you're going to need to hire that person probably 24/7. When is 24? 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Maybe give them Hanukkah off. Even if they're not Jewish, just give them Hanukkah off because Hanukkah's awesome. So that's option 3 right there. The fourth option is more of a medical option, and you might not have access to it. But if you're offended by something, I think a lot of people sometimes in Los Angeles just go to like a cannabis shop and get some edibles or something, and then they're feeling great. And they're not offended by everything because they love everything. They just love everything. They're in a good mood, put you in a good mood. And you can get stuff that's like doesn't make you like get high to where you're like seeing things and you're getting transported into like a mysterious world. One time I got so high, I thought that Super Mario needed my help. Saving the princess. And I ended up just fixing everybody's toilet in the building, which was actually pretty awesome. That was pretty cool. But there are stuff where you can just get like slightly high that will just put you like in a good buzzed mood. Now, if you do that, please don't drive, don't go outside, don't operate heavy machinery. Or go to the park where there are children because that is obviously that's dangerous. But that's option 3. Now everybody doesn't have access to that option because they haven't legalized cannabis probably in your city yet. But I'm not going to lie, guys. That's kind of like right around the corner. I guarantee in the next 5 years, cannabis will be completely legal in the United States of America and Texas. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And that's kind of your 3 options. I feel like to not be offended, right? Or no, that's 4 options. That's 4. Because number 1 is, let's review. Number 1 is the cabin in Alaska with the white snow because it's like walking into a plain white room. Can't offend you. Number 2 would be is hiring the North Korea, China communist news spin propaganda writer that filters everything for you and then delivers it to you. Option 3 is hiring the professional censor who would kind of be like your guide dog, I guess, like when a blind person has like a guide dog or an assistant, kind of the same thing. And then the other one is just go buy some cannabis, sit back, rock out to some 41, and just forget about the stuff that's offending you today. The good thing about it is you can combine some of that stuff. So if you're feeling like you're going to be extra offended, you can get high with your sensor guide and your news guide. I think the cool thing about this is we have 4 options, but in reality, you can combine all 4. Or you can combine 2, or you can combine 3, or you can just do 1. That's kind of neat. I just thought about that, guys. Like everybody's just like, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I just thought about that. Wow. So really, there are 4 options, but you can combine all of them. So if you want to be less offended, then just go with one of the options. If you feel like you're going to be really, really offended, like the asshole that's offended by Mr. Potato Head and Pac-Man, you're probably going to want to go with all 4 options, right? And I'm pretty sure if you do that, I guarantee, and I'm giving you a not fact, but a opinionated guarantee. Actually, I don't even know if that's really a guarantee, but it's the Nick Catelli Nimble Urban Survivor seal of approval guarantee that you will not be offended. Okay. Now, obviously, for legal disclaimers, because my lawyer is here, I'm supposed to tell you that, that is just my opinion. That is not fact. Please do not sue me if you try doing all of those and you fail and you still get offended. Obviously, there are some psychos out there that can be offended by snow because snow is cold, and maybe they're offended by ice. They hate ice because when they drink ice water, it makes their teeth really hurt because they have a sensitivity, so they're not allowed to drink ice, so they get jealous of everybody else drinking the ice. So I'm offended by it because I know if I'm offended by it, I can get rid of all of the ice. Let's melt all of the ice. But you can't melt all the ice, because if you melt all of the ice, then we have to melt the polar ice caps. It's going to be like the Kevin Costner movie Waterworld, and that's going to suck. So don't be offended by ice, because I will not melt the fucking ice caps for you and ruin this planet. Yeah, I said it. That's the one thing. That's how we should fight back, right? Because I know people are like scared to fight back, like the whole like Mr. Potato Head. There's probably a lot of people at home like myself who are like, you're fucking crazy to be offended by that. But nobody speaks up because they don't want to be like part of they don't want them to like point the finger and start yelling at them, right? So what we need to do when we want to fight back against the people who get offended by everything is we just need to connect what they're offended by to an apocalyptic event. So if you're offended by Mr. Potato Head, then here's how I would respond to you. Okay, well then think about it like this. We'll get rid of all of the potato heads. We'll also make Disney get rid of all of their Pixar movies that focus on Mr. Potato Head, which will bankrupt Disney, right? Because they'll probably go through a lot of legal fees getting rid of that. Also, if we get rid of all of the potatoes on the planet, no more French fries, no more baked potatoes, no more fried potatoes, no more potato skins, people get really sad because potatoes are fucking awesome. Disney goes under, so you've just crushed the dreams of every kid out there. Disneyland has to close. Kids are upset. What happens when kids get upset? They take it out on their parents. And then when they're really, really upset because there's nothing to entertain them on TV anymore, they're going to start going after their parents. And it's going to be like in that Children of the Corn movie. And then kids are going to be attacking parents, and there's going to be like a whole World War Z with kids fighting parents. And they're going to, take over because they're stronger, quicker, and smarter than us. So if you're offended by Mr. Potato Head, yeah, we'll get rid of all the potatoes. But I'm going to let you know that your bullshit of being offended is going to cause World War Kid like Z, and the world is going to end. So that's my solution, is that if you ever have an idiot who's offended by something stupid, number one, tell them, you know what, you can just walk away from that. Or tell them that it's going to lead to the end of the world. And here's the thing. Do you want to be offended by Mr. Potato Head? Or do you want to be responsible for the world ending? I don't know. So maybe now I'm not offended by Mr. Potato Head because I don't want to be connected to the world ending. So that's how we fight back against these douchebags who are just offended by everything, is that we take whatever they're offended by and we connect it to a world-ending event. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I can connect anything to a world-ending event. Even you listening to the show, I could connect you to a world-ending event. I could probably connect you to the Kennedy assassination, and you probably weren't even born yet. But I could do that. And that's what we need to do to fight back against, I guess, what we call them, like the offendinators. That's my name against them, is the offendinators. And we have to defeat them. They're like the Foot Clan in the Ninja Turtles, right? Or who were the evil guys in G.I. Joe? I don't know. The Cobras. They're like the Cobras. They're like the Cobra Kais in Karate Kid, but then, they turned good. That's a whole different thing. But that's what we have to do. We have to fight back. So how do you fight back against your friend or your family or some idiot at work who gets offended by everything? Well, you just connect whatever they're offended by to a world-ending event and be like, that's fine. If you're offended by that, we'll get rid of that. But it's going to destroy the planet. And then you're going to be the asshole who goes down in the textbooks, and you're going to be like, well, this is the reason that, the world ended because of you, because you got offended by somebody. Yes, I know it's a little bit of a dramatic approach, but it works. And that's how we have to be. You got to fight fire with ice or something. I really don't know. So, guys, that's our show today. I think it's a really good show. A little bit of a shorter show today, but I really wanted to just focus on the point, right? And at the end of the day, okay, if something offends you, we live in the year 2021, you can just block it. You can turn away from it. You don't have to acknowledge it. If something offends you on social media, block it, unfollow it, forget about it, right? It's a fugazi. And that's our show today, guys. Thank you again for turning into the nimble urban survivor. Hopefully we didn't offend you. If we did, though, we gave you 4 solutions to not be offended by my show. And with that, guys, thank you so much for listening. Remember, if you ever want to be on the show, or if you have a topic or something you want to hear about or be a guest, feel free to contact me via my website at www.catellicomedy.com. Right now, if you didn't know, we're also on the Clubhouse app. We're trying to create a nimble urban survivor Clubhouse club. If you don't know what Clubhouse is, it's kind of a cool social media app. I do have some invites to Clubhouse. You have to be invited to be on the platform. So if you do want an invite to Clubhouse, please reach out to me. I will gladly give you one, and then you can be on the app and be in the chat rooms and things like that. But Clubhouse is really, really cool. We are on Clubhouse. Super fun app. Check it out. If you need an invite, definitely let me know, guys. Again, thank you so much for listening to The Nimble Urban Survivor. I'm your host, Nick Catelli. Remember to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about it. Tell your friends they're getting offended by a lot of stuff. Check out this episode so they don't get offended by anything. And guys, have a great week. And I will talk to you guys later. And remember, survive out there and don't be offended.